All right, our very last lesson for this chapter, and this one we have definitely used before in science because we need to convert all the time from one unit to another. We need to say, well, I got cups, but I need it in grams or I need it in liters. And you know that very often I just give you the math to do, but now you're going to have to figure it out on your own. When we talk about converting measures, there are very few of these that I need you to memorize. There are some standard things that we use every day in the US, like there's 12 inches in a foot that I would expect you to memorize, certainly anything that Mrs. Nelson has you memorize in cooking class. But the rest of those you can look up on a table. And I think your agenda has tables. So, and your book has tables. So this is more of the process that we're going to go through. Now I'm going to follow the exact examples in the book. So if you're looking in the book, we're on page 234. However, I'm going to do it slightly a different way. And that's because I want to keep that same idea of cross multiplying and dividing like we did before. So mine is going to look slightly different than the book, but it comes out with the same result. All right, so for converting units, they're doing quarts to gallons. And that's something probably you should have memorized. And so the first fraction that you're going to write down is your conversion off of your table. So if you had to look it up, your table would have said there are 4 quarts, make sure you label your numbers, in 1 gallon. Okay? And if you don't have that memorized, I'd do it now. So there are 4 quarts in a gallon. But what if I wanted to convert that to, I want to know how much I need if I want 9 gallons. I don't have a gallon jug to measure with. I only have a quart container. I'm going to need to know how many times do I fill that quart container because I need 9 gallons. All right, so this is called our conversion rate. Maybe you better write that down because that's a term you're going to hear all the time. Conversion rate. There's my conversion rate, 4 quarts to a gallon. How much do I need if I want 9 gallons? So cross multiply and divide is 4 times 9 divided by 1, which is quite easy, which is 36. Now hopefully something like that you can do in your head. That's the general idea, but we learn the math for situations where we can't do it in our head. All right, how about centimeters into inches? Here's one we would do. We would do it the opposite way in a science class, because in science we want to always have it in centimeters, not in inches. But for the sake of the book, we will do it their way. So we have 1 inch on our table. It'll tell you that an inch is the same as 2.54, not exactly, but 2.54 centimeters. That's as close as we can get on that. So 2.54 is the same as an inch. And we want to know if we have 20 centimeters. So we're going to fill in what we know. We know 20 centimeters, and that's what we're trying to figure out. So we're going to cross multiply. So 1 times 20 and divide by that third number, 2.54. And what's that going to equal? And of course, it's in your book, it's 7.87. Now, if you're using a calculator, you notice that they are using this to say that a calculator is going to tell you that it's not exactly 7.87. For our purposes, we're always going to round to the nearest hundredth, 2 decimal places. So we use this equal sign that's bent to mean, well, it's almost equal. It's approximately 7.87. All right, now let's try the next one. All right, so now I am going to, whoops, I see a little error up there. It says converting units. It should say comparing units. So let's change that. Sorry. Just notice that. This should be comparing units. Okay, so in this case, this is going to look a bit different than how they have it. They have quite a long stream of calculations. I'm breaking it up a little bit differently. So I'm going to be converting it a couple times. So first of all, I've got 25 ounces and I wanted to go into kilograms. Well, a kilogram is a big amount, whereas an ounce is a small amount. So first of all, I'm going to have to go from ounces to pounds. So how many ounces? Well, I've got 16 ounces in 1 pound. But I don't have 16 ounces. I got 25 of them. So what is that in pounds? Well, that happens to be 1.56, etc., approximately. We'll round it to that. Pounds. Okay, so now I know how many pounds I have. So I'm going to set this up again, and I want to convert it from pounds to kilograms. Now I need to know the conversion rate from pounds to kilograms. And it happens to be there are 0.45 kilograms in 1 pound. All right, so how are we going to convert that? Well, we happen to know that we have a pound, a little over 1.5 pounds. So I do have more than 1 pound. I have about 1.5 pounds. And I want to know, well, how many kilograms is that? So again, cross multiply and divide. Looks like this, 0.45 times 1.56 divided by 1. Terribly hard. And of course, you can see the final answer in your book is 0.7. So this here is 0.7 kilograms. So hopefully you can understand the difference between the way they do in the book and the way I do it. You can choose either way. I really don't care, whatever works for you. But this is the way that we've been doing it, so I thought I'd keep with that same idea of cross multiply and divide. All right, let's try another one. Okay, we're now going to convert a rate. You notice that it says over on the side that the heart pumps 5 quarts of blood per minute. And they want to know how many liters that is. And in their equation, they put 1 minute in the equation. I would say that that's probably a little bit more complicated than we need it to be, because we're not changing the minutes. In the question, it's how much per minute, and in the answer, we want it per minute. So I don't need to calculate the per minute part of that. I only need to convert the quarts to the liters. So I'm going to change that a little bit to make it a little bit more simple. All right, so we know that our conversion rate, liters are slightly smaller than quarts. So we're going to write a number slightly smaller than 1, which is 0.95 liters, which is equivalent to 1 quart. And then we see over here that the heart beats 5 quarts per minute. And we want to convert that 5 quarts into liters. So that's what we don't know. Cross multiply and divide. 0.95 times 5 divided by 1 equals, and of course the answer is there in the book, 4.75. So this is 4.75 liters. And that's an approximate amount because we've done some rounding in our calculation, but it's close enough for what we're doing. Remember, you always round. For decimals in this case, to the nearest hundredth place, 2 decimal places. All right, last one. All right, so now we're going to convert speed. This is a common math and science problem. And they're asking you to convert both the miles and the hours, both the numerator and the denominator. So normally we would say 15 miles per hour. And we could write it like this, 15 miles an hour. But for our purposes, we're going to have to do this one step at a time. We're going to deal with the miles, then we'll deal with the hours. All right, so let's write 15 miles here. But I need a conversion rate because I don't want it in miles, I want it in feet. So I know that 1 mile is 5,280 feet because I've memorized that, or I've looked it up in a table. And I see these are equivalent fractions, so I can cross multiply and divide. 15 times 5,280 is 79,200. And that's feet. Now, notice miles, miles, feet, feet. The number one rule in doing this is you have to keep whatever's in the numerator has to be the same. Whatever's in the denominator has to be the same. Don't mix them up. So that's why we're doing this one step at a time. So I've converted to feet. I know that now I'm okay. This is a number I can use. Okay, now I need to do the same thing, but I'm going to convert my hours to seconds. Well, I can do that simply in my head by multiplying 60 times 60. 60 minutes in an hour and 60 seconds in a minute. So 60 times 60 is 3,600 seconds. So that's the same as an hour. Okay? And that is going to be how many feet we traveled. That big number up there. Okay. Well, there's my answer, but there's something wrong with that. You see it's got a bunch of zeros. Anytime you have this, you know that you're going to have to reduce. So that's the same as 36 over 792. Oh, those are both even numbers. I bet I could reduce it even farther. And of course, in your book, you see, if I kept going, I'd find out that it's 22. Oh, excuse me, I did it the wrong way. This is 22 feet. And erase that. This is 1 second. So 36 goes into 792 22 times. And so that is my answer. You notice it was in 2 steps. You can use the book's way or you can use this way, whichever you're more comfortable with. See you tomorrow.